Hey everybody, it is week 16 and this is CIT 12 and we're getting so close to the end you can probably taste it. Alright, so week 16. I've had a few requests just to project out what the end of the semester is going to look like. And so this is week 16, it's our last normal week and it'll feel kind of like a normal week. Next week is the last week of instruction, and so there's going to be a few assignments in that week. They will be optional for the most part, and we'll talk more about those next week. But the idea is that it'll be a very, very light week because that week doesn't have its normal 1 week late period. It's the last week of the semester. So this week, normal week. Next week, a very light week, and then we'll have finals week. Now, finals week technically runs from Monday through Thursday. The problem with this is we've got an online class, you've got an online final, but online students tend to be a little different, right? Some of you can only work on the weekends. That's the only time that you have available to actually do work. Other people, you don't have time on the weekends because you work all weekend and then you normally go to school during the week. And to sort of satisfy both groups, I kind of want to get a little bit of both, to use a Thanksgiving analogy, a little bit of dark meat, a little bit of white meat. So the idea here is I'm going to sort of push the finals week a little early. And so that means that during the last week of instruction, all day Saturday, all day Sunday, you'll have access to the final exam. So not this weekend, but the next weekend, you'll get access to the final exam a little bit early. And then you'll also have Monday through Wednesday during the week to do stuff. And then Wednesday midnight, the final exam will disappear. And then we'll do all our grading on Thursday, as well as any sort of last minute stuff that comes up. And then Friday grades will be submitted to the college. And so at that point we'll be done. And so that's kind of the general process. Business division tries to get all of our grades in on the Friday of finals week, which is technically after finals week. There are no finals scheduled, no regularly scheduled finals on Friday. Anyway, normal week. Last week of instruction, which will be very, very light and include some optional assignments that may just get used to replace some past assignments you may have missed. And then finals week, which will actually start a little bit early. It'll start in the weekend of week 17. So that being said, that's the schedule and process for the last few weeks of the class. Now, as for what we're doing this week. This week is, like I said, our last week, but it's actually a fairly important topic. Just the way the chapters land up. So we're looking at chapter 9 this week, which is all about computer security. It is a huge issue right now and will be moving forward. People talk about privacy. People are going to talk about just security in general. Everything we do is online now. And so you've got a lot of information out there that people could possibly take. You've got a lot of value hidden in things, right? And you've also got exposure to a lot of stuff, right? A lot of malware and viruses and things that might get onto your computer and cause it not to perform correctly. And so there's a lot of things you can do. The best advice, I'm sure I'll mention it at some point during the lecture video, but back up your stuff, right? Backup is incredibly important because if you do run into a virus situation or a malware situation, you can always revert back to your last backup. And that there's no defense like a good offense, right? So if you have your stuff backed up, you don't have to worry as much. You can always nuke the machine and go back to your last good state. Very, very helpful. Regardless, Chapter 9 is going to have a ton of information about that. So definitely read Chapter 9 this week, as it actually is good information. The lecture video is all about malware, viruses, which are actually just a subset of malware, a type of malware. Anyway, a whole bunch of information, including just some basic information on how to protect yourself and how to do it for free. Because I know a lot of people don't want to spend a whole bunch of money on Norton, and quite frankly, I hate Norton. It just squawks in your ear all the time so that it reminds you that you should, pay for it every year. And there are other good solutions out there. The most important thing is that you update your virus definitions. All of that's in the lecture video. So if you want to protect yourself, read Chapter 9, take a look at the lecture video, and there is a quiz on Chapter 9 as well. Your discussion this week is going to be a little bit all over the place. Essentially, I want to expose you to a couple tools you probably don't know about or maybe don't know about, just in the spirit of trying to protect yourself. So the idea is that you've got a lot of information online, and you've probably seen in the news there's been a lot of security breaches, data breaches. Companies like Target and Staples and a number of others have had data essentially stolen from their servers, and that's your data. It's your usernames, your passwords, your email addresses, and sometimes your credit card numbers, unfortunately. And so these sorts of data breaches are important. And it's the responsibility of the company to notify you if a data breach has happened. But you get a lot of mail, and so you receive something via paper mail, and maybe it didn't get to your address, and maybe you didn't pay attention to it because it looked like junk mail. It can kind of be difficult to know if you've been the victim of a data breach. And so there is a tool out there, haveibeenpwned.com. I do apologize for the names of these things. I don't have control over that. Pwned, by the way, is spelled P-W-N-E-D. It's a gamer term. It essentially means owned or defeated, as in I have pwned you in this game. Regardless, the name may be terrible, but the site is fairly good. And so the idea is you can go to haveibeenpwned.com and then type in your email address, right? Something that you would associate with your account. So the email address you use for Amazon and Staples or whatever else you do online. And then it will search its databases of known breaches. So this information is out there. They've been able to find essentially what accounts have actually been affected to determine if the email you have has been associated with any known data breaches. And so then it'll check its database and give you back some results. It doesn't save your email address. It just searches, gives you the results, and lets it go. And so that can be a really great way of determining if you've been the victim of one of these data breaches. If you happen to shop online with a retailer that got hit by hackers and now your information is out there. If anything, it would tell you, oh, I didn't know that. I should change my password for that account and for all my other accounts where I might use the same password because that password has been compromised. People know about it now, and it's probably in one of these dictionaries. We'll talk about that in a second. But the idea is it's a good way to find out if you've been hacked or if a company that has your information has been hacked. Now, I will say that on haveibeenpwned.com, they mention some sensitive breaches. We don't have to get into a lot of it, but there are some. It will not check all of the sites. I think they have 3 websites right now that they consider to be sensitive websites. And so if you've been the victim of a hack and your email was a part of one of those websites or you had an account with one of those websites using that email, you won't get the results back. And the reason is that those sites have been determined that if anybody knew that you had an account on those sites, it could potentially cause you harm. And so, it's all public information, it's all out there, but they sort of say, we want to verify that you are the owner of that email address by sending you an email and having you click a special link before they'll tell you if you've been the victim of one of those sensitive sites. Hopefully for most of you, you don't have to worry about it. But needless to say, these are not normal sites that you would just go to buy office supplies. They are, there was a very famous one this year where essentially it connected married people who wanted to have affairs with other married people. If you're on that website, you're not going to be able to just look up your boyfriend or whatever's email address and put that on there. They're going to verify that. So anyway, small subsection, just 3 websites. But if you're interested in that, there's information on the website. They can help you out. All right. Secondly, once you've determined, hey, have I been free? I don't have any data breaches associated with my email address. That's great. Hopefully that's the case. Next step, let's make sure it stays that way. And so the second resource I want you to take a look at is howsecureismypassword.net. It's a really simple website. Again, they don't steal your password. They don't take your password, save it, do anything. They just look at your password and then do some calculations, give you a result, and leave it at that. And so the idea is you can take a password. A lot of people tend to reuse the same passwords. And so you can take that password that you use regularly, put it in there, and it will tell you how long it would take to crack your password using brute force methods. Now, I say brute force. Brute force has sort of changed over time. And hackers have developed these vast libraries of known passwords. It's sort of a sad thing that 91% of all people choose a password in the top 1,000 passwords. And in case you're wondering, it takes absolutely no time at all for a computer to try 1,000 passwords. It can try 1,000 passwords in less than a second. And so, needless to say, if you're using one of those, don't. But you can type in the password you would normally use and see how secure is it. How long would it take for that password to be hacked? There is so much information that you have out online, especially if you store your sensitive photos online, photos of your family, kids, whatever. And the only thing protecting a lot of your information, a lot of your banking information and photos and all that sort of stuff is just a simple string of characters, your password. And so choosing a good password is the first and best method you can do to protect yourself from all the people out there that would do terrible things. Lastly, and this is just sort of a throwaway, if you want to, as the third step, there's this company called AgileBits. They have a product called 1Password. It's essentially a site that you can put in 1Password and it stores passwords for all the other websites that you use. And then it chooses passwords that are incredibly complex, stuff you could never remember. Go to the AgileBits website. You'll see the link there. Just look at the video. Know that that's a service that happens. There are competitors. I think a lot of Microsoft, Apple, they're wanting to move those things into the operating system itself. So if you're on an Apple, you'll have essentially the same functionality as 1Password. Through their keychain product, Windows is adding something in Windows 10. Point being, there's going to be options like this out there. So if you're interested, take a look, click on it, see the video, know that that exists, and then tell us, is this something you think you'd be interested in, or would you rather just sort of develop good passwords in your own system and sort of do it just with your own mind? Remembering passwords is sort of a big thing. But that's it. The whole discussion this week is about passwords, security, and have you been the victim of a data breach. And lastly, My IT Lab, we have our final lab. Your final lab is Windows 10. It is a brand new lab. I've been running it on my computer and it seems to be working just fine. I'm sure we'll run into problems because everybody uses different browsers and you've got different plugins, and I'm on a Mac, which is not the same for most of you. Most of you are doing this on PC. So needless to say, Windows 10 Lab, let's go through it. If you experience problems, just email me. In fact, that would be helpful for me to know in future. So if there's a question, it seems a little off, there's going to be a lot of grace given on this lab. So just do your best. And like I said, it's been working fine for me, but you know, I'll understand if something has gone wrong. All right. And it's our last lab. After that, you can, well, don't throw your computer off a bridge. That would be a bad thing because you probably want to use it for other stuff. But My IT Lab is done, and you can, celebrate that if you'd like. And that's it. Week 16 in the bag. Next week will be our last video. So yeah, we're at the very end of the semester. Hopefully you had a great Thanksgiving and you're looking forward to the winter break, and you're sitting in a position where you've got a great grade already, and all you need to do is just, finish this out a little bit and you'll be just fine. So anyway, if you have any questions, you can send me an email. Otherwise, I will see you online.